Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video. We're joined again by my handsome little boy here, Nemo. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the third episode of the Book of Boba, which came out technically earlier today. At least today by the time I am recording. So, the one thing I gotta say, it had flashbacks in this episode, but the flashbacks weren't as great as the first two, and I mean great as in as long as the first two episodes. And I think my issue with the flashbacks in the previous two episodes and this is not so much in the second episode, but more so I guess in the first episode, where I felt like the first episode, it's okay to have flashbacks, but at least the majority of the first episode should have been mostly present day. I would have been okay with episode 2 and this episode being mostly flashbacks, but I just felt like episode 1 should have been if not half flashbacks, half present day, then mostly current day, and with some flashbacks, if that makes sense. Kind of like how Arrow did the whole flashback part when it was doing his 8 seasons, or in seasons 7 and 8, flash forwards. Or it could have been longer. Because these episodes that we see, the Book of Boba, is about 30 to 40-ish minutes long. Where Mandalorian was an hour ish, and I would have loved to have seen this the episodes extend, so that way we can have a bit more present day with some flashbacks. So that makes sense. But that's just me. So that's my really only I guess criticism towards the first episode. But I really loved how they decided to bring in the flashbacks, but have present day be more dominant. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'm not here to grind on depth on the series. I'm actually here to review it. So let's review. So episode 3, we see that we essentially get where this guy going to Boba saying there's these people that has been stealing my water. If you can, please handle these fools, and I'll double it. I'll double the money. And I'm going to double the money as an offering that I probably should have given you already. So yeah, Boba essentially handles it, not in the way this guy wants. This guy is a water supplier on Tatooine, because Tatooine's a desert planet, so water is not as great of a resource as Camino is. And so Boba, besides take these guys out, Boba hires them. And one of them is this woman that we've seen in the trailers, which actually jump cut. Well, I couldn't find a still image or part of the trailer where it has the woman, but there's this woman that is part of the gang that Boba Fett hires. And Boba, this woman that I'm referring to, which guys probably seen if you or subscribe to the Den of Nerds or Star Wars Meg covering it. But this woman, I've heard some speculations, might be Mara Jade. Now in this episode, she didn't say her name, and at the moment, I don't know if she's Mara Jade or not. And I will fully admit, I don't know much about Mara Jade outside of she used to work for she was pretty much the Emperor's right hand woman before the fall of the Empire. And she eventually married Luke Skywalker, and she was impregnated by Luke Skywalker, and they had a son named Ben. was, yes, I'm referring to Legends. Was, I guess, since we're going to incorporate Ben Skywalker into Legend, canon, I guess since they had Kylo Ren being Ben Solo, I guess since Kylo Ren is kind of like a Darth Caddis Disney version of. Kylo Ren's a Disney version of Darth Caddis. I guess you can say that there's a chance that maybe like Jason Skywalker. I think that's the same, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. They could go that route, or just have Luke have a son named Ben, Leia and Han have a son named Ben. That would be confusing at Christmas dinners. Hey Ben, yes, not you Ben, this Ben. Oh okay. But so who knows? This could be Mara Jade. Maybe this is Mara Jade trying to find work because the Empire has fallen, which I'm guessing it will be 5 years at this point. I'm not sure how. I'm guessing it's 5 years because Mandalorian took place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. So I'm guessing Book of Boba does the same thing too. And it says, and then we also get flashbacks. We get extended cut of the flashback that we got in the last episode of Boba seeing Jango flying on Camino, off of Camino, in the Slave One ship. And yes, I'm going to call the ship Slave One because, especially at that time, Disney can try to rename Boba Fett's ship all they want, but by the time Jango Fett had the ship, up to, I guess, you can say until after the events of the original trilogy, that ship was called Slave One. I do not care what they're calling it now. They could call it the fire spray, which sounds like a cat in heat, but at that time, with these flashbacks especially, that ship Boba Fett was flying in was called the Slave One. I do not care what Disney tries to do. It was called Slave One. Hence I'm calling it Slave One. Fight me. Correct me if you guys want to. But that was called the Slave One, and I'm sticking to it. God damn it. It's been called Slave One for 40 years. Disney's being I'm mad that Disney's trying to rename it. Oh, it's offensive. So what? It's not even do you even know this meaning? I know I'm going on a rant, but do you even know the meaning of the Slave One name? I believe it's Jango Fett who named that ship as his way of saying, you know what? I overcome the whole slavery thing I had to endure in my past. How is that offensive? Especially after the reason. And correct me if I'm wrong. Please. But even the reason I gave you, it could be an uplifting thing. Besides, oh, this is insulting. So, how does it, Slave One is insulting? Darth Vader! We're going to have Darth Vader name his TIE fighter Slave One? Or just the slave? Now, because he was a slave at one point in his life? If you guys do that, then what the hell was the point of renaming Boba Fett's ship? I'm going to rant. This is my point is, it's stupid that they're renaming Boba Fett's ship. It's not offensive. If you're offended by the name, then you need to then you got some issues. I'm sorry, you got some issues if you're offended by a freaking ship's name. Especially since it's not even a racial slur. I can see if it's the N-word, that's a racial slur, that people are offended, refer to black people. I can see that being offensive. But Slave One? Come on! I digress. So we get an extended cut of Boba seeing Jango flying off of Camino in the Slave One. And then, which I like the whole deepfake thing. They got it to look like Daniel Logan, the way he looked in Attack of the Clones. Which I met Daniel Logan. Had an honor of meeting him in real life. And then we get a flashback to Boba Fett going to the Pike saying, I want protection. And the Pike says, well, my employee says we can't do protection with more than one party. Boba says, this is one party. You can't forget about those Spiker gangs. We dealt with them. Us, the Tusken Raiders and I are under the, are together. They're a protected party. And, pretty much that goes nowhere. Boba leaves, only to see the Tusken Raider camp that he's been hanging out with die. They get Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru on them, which sucks. So, and then that's the end of the flashback. It was only about like 8-9 minutes of the entire episode. Of the entire, like, what? 33 episodes that actually had content. The episode's like 33 minutes of content, 4 minutes of credits. Anyways. So, we get back to present day. And the Wookiee that we seen in the last episodes pretty much rips open the tank that Boba was in with the inducing the flashbacks, and he like goes at it with Boba. I'm surprised he didn't try to take Boba's sockets off. And so the people that Boba hired come to his aid, which essentially, thanks to Fennec, he gets trapped into the where the Rancor was. And essentially the Hutt twins comes back saying, yeah, we're sorry for setting that Wookiee's slave or Wookiee after you. We were lied to. This territory isn't covered by us as well. It's covered by the Pike Syndicate. Or something like that. No, not the Pike Syndicate. By the mayor. And we suggest you leave as well. We're leaving. We suggest you leaving. Keep the Wookiee as a way of us apologizing. By Felicia. Because I'm still hoping that we'll see Jabba's son in the season or in the series, because it will make a lot of sense if Jabba's son, depending on how old he is, takes over his father's empire. Now, I don't know how fast or how slow the aging process is for the Hutts. I don't know if it's the same way as like Yoda's species, because Grogu's in his 50s and he's still pretty much an infant / toddler. He's pretty much a toddler for Yoda's species. So I don't know how a Hutt's aging process works exactly. But if he's old enough to take over Jabba's empire, pretty much like, or place in the Hutt Empire, I want that to happen. Because it would be a nice way to, like, yeah, make a little, like, have a Clone Wars episode, Clone Wars character in Book of Boba. And he would have to be, like, he was a toddler in a Clone Wars movie. So he has to be, like, since what, like, 30-ish, 40 years since. Well, episode 3 and episode 4, there's a 20-year gap. And then there's a 5-year gap between Mandalorian, the Mando first, and the end of the original trilogy. So 25 years at least since we last seen him. So Jabba's son has to be like what, in his about 30s, maybe 40s. And I don't know if that's a teenage years for Huts or adults. But it still would be great to see a Chabo's son cameo in this show. Just saying. And pretty much Boba and Fennec goes to the mayor's office. The Twi'lek that we see representing the mayor, he goes into the room where the mayor is. He locks the door, and there's this epic space chase scene with Boba, with the Twi'lek and the mercenaries that Boba hired. Eventually gets caught. We finally learn that the mayor is working with the Pike Syndicate, and Fennec says this is most likely an act of war because since the guy with the robotic eye said there's at least a dozen, they're probably gearing up for a war. And then Boba said, if it's a war they want, fine, I'll give it to them. And I think, and then that's the end of the episode, which I think will lead to Boba eventually either in episode 4 or 5. Because I'm thinking it'll be the end of episode 4 leading into episode 5, where we'll see Boba in the Slave One. I'm still going to call his ship the Slave One, damn it. In this is the Slave One going to the Corellia to the spice, to get the spice, or try and seek out Han Solo, Aaron Alderreich, and get cameo, or deep fake Harrison Ford. Make it a cameo. Pretty much Han Solo make it a cameo in here. Helping Boba with this issue on Tatooine. Towards the end of the season. Pretty much Han Solo being the Luke Skywalker cameo that we got in Mandalorian, but for Book of Boba. That's my initial theory of what could happen. Well, I guess you can say that within the next 2 episodes and the end of the series. I do not know how many episodes Book of Boba, or season I should say. I do not know how many episodes Book of Boba is going to have. I know it's going to have season 2. But this has to be my favorite episode out of the 3 episodes. And that's because, kind of how I was saying earlier in the video, this deals with, or what I was hinting at earlier in this video, about how it focuses on present day Boba. Besides, hey guys, we're going to focus more so on the flashbacks. And this is what I wanted in the last episode. And this, I believe, this is what I was saying in the last video, that I would love for them to focus more on present day Boba than flashback Boba, because as cool as it is to see flashback Boba, I am more interested, to be honest, in present day Boba than I am in flashback Boba. Now, if they do the flashbacks from here on out, kind of like how they did it with the Arrow show, and in similar style to the Arrow show, then I'll be okay with flashbacks coming back. But as long I do not want them to overpower the episode like the first 2 episodes were in the series. So yeah, I just want this and this is kind of me probably being extremely picky at this moment, wanting this, I guess, next 3-4 episodes, however many episodes in this season, to be a bit longer, so then we can get more content, so we can have more things to talk about. But yeah, I do like this episode. This episode so far has been my favorite. Like I said before, the main reason why I'm watching this is because I did meet the guy, one of the actors who played Boba Fett. Granted, it was the kid who played Boba in Attack of the Clones, who is not a kid anymore, and by the time I met him, he wasn't a kid either at the time, but still. But from what I've seen, combining the first two episodes with this episode, I do think this series is worth a watch. Now, I know some of you guys might be like skeptical about watching Book of Boba, and I get that. But like, if you guys don't feel like waiting week to week to week, then just wait until all the episodes comes out and then binge it. But this, I'm liking this series, and I think this series does justice to the Boba Fett character. I really do enjoy the show. I always felt like Boba Fett was underused in the original trilogy, so I'm happy that he's getting more used in this for this show. And I always felt like Boba Fett should have had at least one cameo in Star Wars Rebels. Like, Dave Filoni had this big opportunity to have Boba Fett make a cameo. I mean, R2-D2, C-3PO, Captain Rex, even Captain Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, which are three clones. Captain Rex being the clone that's the most famous, or one of the most famous clone troopers. Ahsoka Tano, Darth Vader, Tarkin, the Emperor. The Emperor was voiced by Ian McKellen, the guy who played the Emperor in the prequels and Return of the Jedi in season 4. At Obi-Wan, Darth Maul. That's about at least 10 characters that I can think of. Oh, and Lando, so 11. And Leia, which is 12. So at least 12 characters. Either from the movies or shows before. From the prequel era, like the prequel movies, the original trilogy movies, the Clone Wars series, that made cameos in Rebels. And I would have loved to have seen Boba Fett. I felt like they could have made it work to have a Boba Fett cameo in Rebels. That's just me. But my point is, I felt like Boba Fett was underused, in the original trilogy. And maybe that was on purpose. So I'm happy we're able to see more of Boba. And I do like how he says ex-bounty hunter. Because that has, I guess, been one of the people's gripes about the show. How can you say you're not a bounty hunter? You're a bounty hunter. Boba's addressed that he isn't into the whole bounty hunter life anymore. And maybe, the whole Starlight Pit thing changed him. And maybe the events of this series, whether it just has 2 seasons, like I've been hearing, or more than 2 seasons, maybe this series will, by the end of the series, will make Boba want to become a bounty hunter again. So maybe Boba's just taking a break from bounty hunting. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what could cause the whole change. And I think it could be Thosar, Pit. He wants to be better than essentially his father was. I don't know. Or maybe this is Boba's way of trying to honor his father. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of why Boba is trying to retire from bounty hunting. But that's just me. But I have enjoyed this series. I'm enjoying the series so far, regardless of my me being kind of harsh about it being with harsh in terms of Boba, there being a the overpowering of flashbacks in the first 2 episodes. I've been enjoying this episode. And, like I said, 3rd episode is, in my opinion, better than the first 2. Because it's centered around more current day Boba than flashback Boba, if that makes sense. So, what do you guys think about this episode? Do you guys like it, dislike it, or anything about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll let this little boy sleep, so I'm going to shut up. Hope you have a wonderful day. Be kind to one another. Love you all. Talk to you guys in the next video. Love you all. Have a wonderful day.